the Excel Step at YouTube channel, and we are starting with our first topic of our beginners program, getting started with Excel. In this particular data, we are about to see how to use Excel and how to open Excel and so on. Generally, if you are using a older version of Excel, let's say you are using a Excel version below 2003 version, and if you are using a different operating system altogether, then you can just search the Excel functionality here by typing Excel, and it automatically pops up the Excel application for us, and we can open it. In the latest version, you will be having an icon at the bottom of your screen. So let me close this once, and then let me open our Excel application one more time. So you can see when you open a normal data, so probably you might keep a icon like this, or in the bottom of your taskbar you can see the icons pop up. If you're using the latest version in Excel or any of the Microsoft product, you can see that you can open it via this way. Just a click of a button will take you to our Excel application, and I'm using Excel Office 365 version, and it is a March release. I've updated the March release of Excel Office 365. If you're using other versions, you can see the version name when you open Excel. So if you're opening for the Excel for the very first time, if you're using a brand new version, then the first screen of this Excel will be like this. You can see a set of templates on top, and on the left hand side you can see you can create a brand new Excel file, or you can open the existing Excel file and you can do a hell of a lot of things. Earlier versions of Excel had only one-time payment version. We never had subscription kind of a structure earlier. After 2013 version, we have monthly subscription, yearly subscription, and so on. We don't buy a product by paying a bigger money. We will get the product as monthly subscriptions or yearly subscription, whatever it is appropriate for us. So I've already started using an Excel file here. So I'm going to open the Excel file that is there in the list. So in our getting started in Excel, we are about to learn the very basic of a logic today. That is how to use Excel. So you have to understand the anatomy of Excel and what are the basic shortcuts that allows us to navigate faster in Excel without touching a mouse. So when I go to the anatomy of Excel, and we need to understand how the anatomy works. So in Microsoft applications, we have a lot of different applications. We have Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Access, OneNote, Excel, and so on. When I use a Word file, it is a documentation file. And when I use a PowerPoint, it's going to be a slideshow. And when I use an Excel, generally Excel is used for data mining and data management. So this is built basically in a small cell data. So I'm going to just use a thick outer border to differentiate the box, and this is what we call it as a cell. This cell either goes on a standing mode or a sleeping mode. I call it as horizontal or vertical. When it is a sleeping mode, so I can click the leftmost part of my line, which is numbered here. We call this as rows or row. If it is a standing line, then I'll call this as column. So this is how the Excel anatomy is built. And when I work with the rows and columns, I should know how many rows do I have in an Excel. Many people who use Excel for a long time don't even know that. If I ask, they will give some random numbers to me, but I'm surprised once one of the MNC company in India have given a question to a interview guy asking for how many rows and columns are there in Excel in a particular version. So let's see the versions that we are about to add into our list. So I'm going to just go back to the version, and I'm either going to take 1997 to 2003. So all these versions had the similar number of rows and columns. If it is 2010 to 2019 for Office 365, all the rows and columns are similar. So now the rows and columns that we have between 97 to 2003 were 65,536 rows and 256 columns. This is the maximum size a row can extend in 2003 version. In 2007 version and after that, the data's level has increased and the demands are more. So this is where the Excel have accelerated its length and width of the data to a greater extent. Again, now it is even more better, but in a normal Excel worksheet, the length and width or the rows and columns are 10,48,576 rows and 16,384 columns. And this is there even in our Office 365 subscription portions too. This is the length and width that we have in our Excel part. So this is belongs to a single sheet. What I'm given right now, the number of rows and columns are belong to a single sheet, and you can add any number of sheets in a Excel, and you can use it how much ever data that you want to feed in a single Excel workbook. When I want to work in Excel, we start with the very basics of Excel. So once we type something in Excel, once we feed something in Excel, we wish to save them. So if I want to save them, I can either go to my File tab and then I can save it. Or I can use a keyboard shortcut here. That is, I can use Ctrl S to save it. Or you can use a few more shortcuts in here. When I work with save, we have one more option next to it called save as. So when I say save as, I can save the same document in multiple time. The multiple dimension in it. For this, I will use either an F2 or Alt F2 as our basic functionality. This allows us to work either via a keyboard or using a mouse option. You can add all of them. So I've repeated one or two functionalities in here again. So let's see how to save this file. So if I want to save this file, I've already saved it in here. So my data will only update right now. It won't create a new save option for me if I use save button. Wherein if I use a save as button, probably I can save the same file with a multiple name in it, multiple dimension in it, and so on. A few of the regularly used dimensions are there when I save an Excel file. So if I'm going to save the Excel in the earlier versions, so we don't have any multiple dimension as such. So we had only one dimension, so we can just save the Excel file to open in Excel with an extension called XLS. If I'm using the other versions, maybe from 2007 to the till date version, then I will save the Excel file in XLSX. You can save the file as a macro enabled book, or you can save them as a binary file. So in the older versions, there is no discretion in it. So you are going to use the same functionality, but whereas when I use the newer version, my data are going to be saved with multiple dimension in it. So without this, I may not be able to save my macro either recorded or wrote, and the binary files will also gives you the same logic. And in the earlier versions, we had a limitation earlier in the number of worksheet that we had, but now there is no limitations in the later versions, so you can add any number of sheets that you wish to have. But in a single workbook, we don't add way too much of a data here because I don't want to lose all my data that I have created, and it took a lot of time for me to do it. If that is the stage, then I don't put them all in one single workbook. I preferably try to have it more than one workbook or more than one worksheets and so on. So based on what we want, we can plan accordingly. So when I train you on this point, so you can see that I started working on a lot of components. So I just used small functionalities like a merge center wherever I had a data earlier, which was gone beyond the limit of a column. Then I just selected two different columns and then added them as one column so that the data looks decent better. Or I can expand the data, or I can expand the column as we go forward. In our training, I'll teach you how to expand a column in a keyboard manner, or using a keyboard you can do that, or you can use and just drag the top column name or column numbers or the column part to extend full. So I'm not so keen to do that at the moment. As we go forward, we will learn how to do it. And if you closely watch in my Excel sheet, I have three sheets. So this is the first sheet, the introduction sheet, and I just gave you the anatomy of Excel AE, AOE sheet, and now I have sort of more keyboard shortcuts. We have used the first two keyboard shortcuts already, so now I wish to teach you the other keyboard shortcuts. So what are you using? So are you using a desktop or a laptop? Based on that, certain keyboards might change a little bit here and there. But most of the keyboards are singular, they won't have multiple dimensions here. Now I have just chosen a desktop version here. So what are the shortcut that I gave here will all work in a desktop without any fuss. If you're using a laptop, you have to have a small alterations in one or two keyboard shortcuts. Again, even in today's laptop, I think we can get the same keyboard shortcuts available for us. But not everyone use similar kind of keyboards. So if you are a accountant and if you are a guy who works a lot of the number, then you will be choosing to have a numlock keyboard option in a laptop. So that allows you to use these keyboard shortcuts with ease. If you are not a person who use a lot of numbers, you use a lot of text, then probably you may not have a numerical pad part in your laptop. Then you will be using your plus or minus on top of your keyboard, where your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers are aligned. If that is the case, then I use a keyboard shortcut here called Control Shift plus for the new addition of a row or column, and I use Control minus. It's here the shortcut remains the same because when I use a plus, this is where I have the point, or I have my most important tool that I use in Excel equals comes into play. So that is the only reason why I use Control Shift plus. But if you are not going to use that, you can use the keyboard shortcut that I mentioned earlier. So where you can choose the Control plus and Control minus. The rest of the keyboard shortcut allows you to do things better. So now I've used the mouse earlier to navigate to my first sheet or the sheet one or the page sheet of my Excel. If I want to navigate or if I want to go to the first sheet or sheet one here, I can use a keyboard shortcut here called Control Page Up, and I can navigate to the previous pages. If I want to bring it down or go to the same page where I was earlier, then I use Control Page Down to navigate. Here I cannot jump, I have to navigate one by one. So if you want to jump from the first sheet to the third sheet or third sheet to the first sheet, you will be using a mouse than a keyboard. Now I'm having only 3 sheets in this particular point, but we may be having more than 3 sheets in a real-time environment. You might have 12 sheets. For example, if I'm a guy who works in accounts department, probably in a payroll department, and I'm eligible for preparing, or I am the one who is responsible for preparing your attendance sheet and your pay scale or pay slips and so on, then I might have a longer number of sheets here. Maybe if I'm dealing with the enter data point, then I'll have 12 months of 12 sheets, which has 12 months in it for a one financial or a physical year. Sometimes we may have 30 or 40 employees and I want to give their pay slips. So I can even design a pay slip in Excel. So I can give them a printout by giving my company name on top and so on. And I can work around with the data even more clear and detailed. So now I used the control page down and page up option. Now I like to use control plus option. So let me place the cursor in the control shift plus and I'm going to give control plus. Then pops up a small box or a window stating that what you would like to insert. Would you like to insert a cell below or onto your right, or you want an entire row or an entire column? So I can do anything that I want to do using a control plus option here. I just used it right now. So when I give an enter right now, it's going to give you a shift the cell down. What's one cell down? So now I want to bring it back again. I'm going to use a control minus to delete that. Page up. If I want to move it to the right, control plus, select this shift right, and control minus, shift left. So I'm just going back and forth here. Control plus entire row, control minus entire row, control plus entire column, control minus entire column. So I can switch back and forth. I'm not using it in a real data, I'm using it in a blank cell. If you're using in a real data, this will be even more interesting, even more worthy. So once you have added a data, all of a sudden you need data in between your D column and an E column. Then you can just add a column and you can start working with the data or start feeding your data. For that purpose, we are using this control plus or minus. Now I wish to select the entire column. Then I'm going to just select the entire column by using a control spacebar. Now you can select the entire column here, and I can select the entire row by shift spacebar. So I'm going to put all of them in use. I'm just showing you what are the keyboard shortcuts available here. So as we go forward, we will be using all these basic keyboard shortcuts in a real-time point. Wherever I use it, I will show you what kind of keyboard shortcuts that I am trying to use here and how I'm gonna work with it. So this is what we have learned in our getting started with Excel. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be seeing more and more videos next. And I wish to start the next video with a file tab. If you have any suggestions and comments to add, please add to my YouTube channel. I'll follow that or I'll create those formulas. So I'm planning either a formula to start with or the basic file tab to work better. Hope you enjoy my video. This is Vinod from myself Academy and your Excel snippet channel service provider. And we have started a new series called Excel Beginner Training Program. And this is the first getting started with Excel. Whether you're using 1997 version or you're using Office 365 version, you can use almost all these shortcuts. Hope you enjoy it. Stay home, stay safe, learn more.